Imagine losing a staggering 2.5 billion rupees to fraud. Shocking, isn't it? Yet this is the grim reality for Pakistanis as they face an escalating scam crisis. The scope of this problem is vast and unforgiving, with the shocking statistic of 2.5 billion rupees, equivalent to $15 million, lost to the malicious world of fraud. This isn't a predicament faced by a select few. It's a growing problem that affects all sectors of society. From the tech-savvy youth to the elderly, no one is immune. The fraudsters are not your average criminals either. They are advanced, equipped with sophisticated tactics, and unfortunately their methods are proven to be highly successful. To truly grasp the gravity of this situation, we need to dissect a real-life case to understand how these scams work. The scams are advanced, sophisticated, and unfortunately highly successful. Let's delve into a real-life case to understand how they work. Let's turn our focus to a specific case that exemplifies the complexity of these scams, the case of Dr. Fateh Saleem. Dr. Fateh Saleem, a respected professional, found himself entangled in the web of advanced fraud and scam practices. His story unfolds around a seemingly harmless transaction, the sale of his iPhone 14 Pro Max. The agreed-upon price was $700, a fair deal for a phone of that caliber. Little did he know this simple transaction would turn into a nightmare. The scammer, a master of deception, had all the tricks up his sleeve. He sent Dr. Saleem a screenshot of a bank transaction, a convincing piece of evidence that the payment was made. The screenshot showed the exact amount agreed upon, transferred to Dr. Saleem's account. The scammer managed to create an illusion of a legitimate transaction, enough to convince anyone. It's important to understand the level of sophistication involved here. This wasn't a simple case of a doctored image. The scammer used advanced techniques to mimic the exact look and feel of a genuine bank transaction. The use of correct banking terminology, precise transaction details, and even the bank's official logo created a mirage of authenticity. Dr. Saleem, like most of us, was not an expert in identifying fake bank transactions. He saw the screenshot, saw the correct amount, his name, his account details, and naturally, he believed it to be true. He was convinced that the transaction was real, and so he handed over his iPhone 14 Pro Max to the scammer. But when Dr. Saleem checked his bank account, the reality hit him hard. There was no deposit of $700. The screenshot was nothing more than a well-crafted lie. His phone, his valuable possession, was now in the hands of a scammer, and all he had was a fake bank transaction screenshot. The aftermath was devastating. Dr. Saleem was not only out $700, but he also lost his trust in online transactions. The scammer didn't just rob him of his phone, he stole his sense of security, his belief in the honesty of online dealings. This case is a stark reminder of the complexities and sophistication involved in modern scams. Scammers are not just petty thieves, they are cunning manipulators, exploiting our trust and leveraging advanced techniques to deceive us. Dr. Saleem fell victim to a well-executed scam, losing not just his phone but also his trust in online transactions. But how can we avoid falling into the same trap? To protect ourselves, we first need to understand the scale and nature of scams in Pakistan. Scams are not a phenomenon limited to a few unfortunate individuals. Rather, they are widespread, affecting not just individuals but also businesses and even government institutions. It's a problem that permeates through the very fabric of our society, creating a sense of distrust and insecurity. Imagine running a business, investing your sweat, blood and tears into it, only to have a scammer siphon off your hard-earned profits through a fraudulent transaction. Or picture a government institution striving to provide services to the public, only to be defrauded by unscrupulous individuals who manipulate the system for their own gain. This is the harsh reality of scams in Pakistan. But what makes these scams so successful? The answer lies in their sophistication. Scammers have evolved far beyond the old days of poorly written emails from supposed princes promising vast fortunes. Today, scammers use a variety of complex techniques to trick their victims. One such technique is the use of fake bank transactions. Scammers can create realistic-looking screenshots of bank transactions, making it appear as though they have made a payment when, in reality, no money has changed hands. This technique was used in the case of Dr. Fateh Saleem, who was tricked into selling his iPhone 14 Pro Max for $700, only to later discover that the bank transaction was fake. These scams are not just limited to financial transactions. Scammers also use identity theft, phishing attacks, and even social engineering to trick their victims. They prey on our trust, our willingness to help others, and our desire for easy money. And they are very good at what they do. In fact, scams have become so prevalent and so sophisticated that they are often hard to spot. Scammers use a combination of psychological manipulation, technological expertise, and sheer audacity to trick their victims. They create a web of deceit that is difficult to untangle, often leaving their victims feeling helpless and violated. So, how widespread is this problem? While it's hard to give an exact figure, it's clear that scams are a significant issue in Pakistan. Every year, countless people fall victim to scams, losing not just their money, but also their peace of mind. It's a problem that requires a concerted effort to tackle. Law enforcement agencies, businesses, and individuals all have a role to play in combating scams. But it's not just about catching the scammers. It's also about educating ourselves and others about the nature of scams and how to spot them. The scams are clever, intricate, and often seem legitimate. So how can we stay safe? That's a question we'll aim to answer in our next segment, where we provide you with tips and strategies to protect yourself from scams. Because knowledge is power, and the more we know about scams, the better equipped we are to fight them. Staying safe from scams requires awareness, vigilance, and a good dose of skepticism. In our journey to understand scams, we've covered the shocking reality of fraud in Pakistan and the unfortunate case of Dr. Fateh Saleem. Now it's time to equip ourselves with the knowledge to avoid becoming victims of such scams. First and foremost, always verify the identity of the person you're dealing with. This might seem like common sense, but in the excitement of a good deal, it's easy to overlook this crucial step. Whether you're buying a high-end smartphone or selling a vintage wristwatch, ensure that you know who you're transacting with. Use verified platforms that provide a level of protection, and always meet in public places when dealing face-to-face. Next, double-check everything. In the case of Dr. Fateh Saleem, the scammer showed him a fake bank transaction screenshot. As technology advances, so do the tools of scammers. They can create realistic-looking bank transactions, emails, websites, and more. So, be skeptical. If you receive a bank transaction confirmation, log into your account independently to verify. Don't just rely on screenshots or emails. Then be wary of deals that seem too good to be true. If someone is selling an iPhone 14 Pro Max for a fraction of the market price, there's a good chance it's a scam. Scammers often lure victims with unbeatable deals. Remember, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Moreover, protect your personal information. Scammers can use your personal details to trick you or others. They might pose as you to scam your friends or use your information to access your accounts. So be careful about what information you share and who you share it with. Lastly, educate yourself about common scams. Scammers often follow similar patterns, and knowing these can help you spot scams before you fall victim. There are many resources available online to help you understand and recognize common scam tactics. Remember, scams thrive on haste and emotion. Scammers want you to act quickly without thinking. They might try to scare you, excite you, or pressure you, but take your time. Think things through, ask questions, and if something doesn't feel right, walk away. In the end, protecting ourselves from scams is about more than just safeguarding our money or possessions. It's about preserving our peace of mind and our trust in others. Because once trust is broken, it's hard to rebuild. By staying vigilant and aware, we can protect ourselves and our loved ones from the devastating impact of scams.